I'm Chad Sinkowski at historic Grayson Stadium, and this is What's Your Passion? This is What's Your Passion with me, Chad Sinkowski, here today in Savannah, Georgia at historic Grayson Stadium. I have with me today Jesse Cole, owner of Savannah Bananas, author of Find Your Yellow Tux, keynote speaker, and host of the podcast Business Done Differently. Jesse, thank you for inviting me to your stadium.
One of the first times that I guest, actually. I've done hundreds of these on Zoom, but first time to come to the stadium. So thank you for that, my friend.
That's awesome. I want to be able to feel everything that's going on around here.
Awesome.
I appreciate it. So I just want to start with, what is your passion? What fires you up? What would you do if you didn't get paid for it, but all your bills were paid for? What would it be?
Passion's such a fun conversation because everyone asks, find your passion, find your passion. And I think a lot of times your passion finds you. I think it's a different conversation. For me, my passion's changed. I was a kid, grew up in Massachusetts. I was an only child. My father saw that I fell in love with baseball. So my dad, when I was very young, bought a baseball facility where I could train year round and just play all the time. And that became my passion. That became something that I woke up, I wanted to take swings. When my dad got home from work, I wanted to take swings. I wanted to pitch. It's all I thought about. And it was a passion that was my life. And I remembered my dad telling me, Jesse, you go to college, but you got to make sure you got to get a scholarship. And I was like, all right, I got to be really good at baseball and do well in school. And so that was it. I was like, I'm going to play professional. I visualized that phone call on draft day and getting that call from the Boston Red Sox. I visualized it thousands of times. And you know what? It was very close to happening. What happened was I got a full scholarship, went down south, I started getting letters from the New York Mets, the San Diego Padres, the Atlanta Braves. I have all these letters. I saved them because it was really cool. And then I tore my shoulder my senior year. And just like that, I was done. I had 3 tears in my shoulder, couldn't come back from it. Dr. Andrews, the famous surgeon, did my surgery, but there was no chance of coming back. That was it. That passion that was 20 years was everything, and it was gone. So I had no idea what my passion was at that time because I couldn't pursue the passion that I love.
Right. Do you think that there's something in there within that passion that just kind of was a good segue to what you're doing now?
Oh, yeah.
Like the love of baseball.
Well, and what's ironic about that is that in the past, it was a love of baseball. I'm probably the only owner in all of baseball that says baseball is too long, too slow, too boring, and it needs a lot of work. So what happened was I thought I was going to go into coaching, so pursue potentially another passion. And I sat and coached for one summer in the Cape Cod League, and it was the most bored I've ever been in my life. I sat in the dugout, the best seats in the house with the best players in the country. All these guys would go play in MLB, and I was bored. And I got an opportunity to become a general manager of a team in Gastonia, North Carolina at 23 years old. The only way you get that job is if the worst team in the country. So it was literally, had 200 fans coming to the games, $268 in the bank account. So I took that. And what I realized was I soon had a passion for getting people excited about coming to a baseball game in a different way. How could I make baseball exciting? How can I make it more about fun, more about entertainment? How could our players do choreographed dances? How could we make it a circus? And then all of a sudden I started to light up because I started to see people light up. They were like, oh, this isn't boring. This is something special. And I saw how people got emotionally excited about the games. So then very simply at 23, my passion became putting on a show, putting on a circus. Being in the entertainment business, we just happened to play some baseball too.
Okay, and so speaking of a circus and show, P.T. Barnum is one of the guys that's a poster in your office, right? How did he influence you as, Jesse Cole, owner of the Savannah Bananas, entertainer, showman?
It's funny, when we go to school, a lot of times, you go back to your education and, elementary school, middle school, high school, you're told the classes you have to take. It's not many times do we get really excited about macroeconomics, calculus, statistics. And I went through school and knew I had to get good grades, but I wasn't excited about it. In college, same thing. I went to college to play baseball. Until I got out of that, I graduated college and took this job with Gastonia, North Carolina, the Gastonia Grizzlies, with 3 full-time employees, $268 in the bank account, 200 fans coming to the games, and we were failing. I became hungry to learn because I had no options. I couldn't pay myself the first 3 months. People don't know that. First 3 months as the general manager, right out of college, I couldn't pay myself. Luckily, I saved a little money in college to get through at $300 rent that I was paying in an apartment. So what I started doing was reading and reading and reading, and I fell in love with learning and being a sponge. And one of the people I kept coming back to was P.T. Barnum. So the guy in the 1800s, they knew how to get attention more than anyone else. We needed attention because we were in Gastonia. No one cared. We were the worst baseball team in the country. No one was paying attention to us. So I learned all these things that P.T. Barnum was doing and just how he created attention, how he thought about standing out and being different, and how he was a speaker and how he promoted. And I was fired up. And I fell in love with him and with Walt Disney at the same time.
Yeah, and speaking of Walt Disney, there's a quote that I heard from you recently on the podcast. All of our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them.
Yes.
I think there's too many people today that are afraid of pursuing their dreams because of judgment. Can you speak about that? Like, if somebody's watching, kind of tell them why you think judgment has no place in their mind, right? And to fulfill their dreams.
Well, you're talking to a guy in a yellow tuxedo right now. So obviously there's a bias going on right now. But here's the reality. I was scared too. Like anybody, I was scared. I was an only child. I was afraid to go out. I was afraid of all of that. But I started taking that first step, When we first came to Savannah, 5.5 years ago, my wife and I, we came in. I wasn't wearing the yellow tuxedo. I was too scared. We were this college summer baseball team coming in after professional baseball. I was trying to market like everyone else, putting things on the newspaper and radio and social media, and we failed. We sold 2 tickets in the first 3 months. By January of 2016, we received the phone call. We were out of money. My wife and I, we had to sell our house, our dream house. We had to empty our savings account. We were sleeping on an airbed. We were down to rock bottom. We were shopping at Walmart, grocery shopping, for $30 for a week. Wow. That's 42 meals between the two of us for $30. Chad, that's not real food. That's how bad it was. But I was like, we have to be different. We have to stand out. So we said, we named ourselves the Savannah Bananas, which we were criticized. The owner should be thrown out of town. You guys are embarrassed today. But as soon as I did that, people started paying attention. If you want to get the hearts of people, you have to first get their eyes and the ears.
Right.
Most people don't realize attention is the starting point. So once we got the attention of Savannah Bananas, and then I started wearing this yellow tuxedo, people judged. They were like, who is this guy? But once they knew the heart, who we are, what we stand for, it all made sense. So what I tell anybody is say, hey, take that first step. I know you have 3 kids, fourth on the way, right?
Yes.
My first son, Maverick, he is as shy as it can be when he's around other people. And he's scared. He's petrified of things, which is crazy because he's looking at dad in a yellow tuxedo. Right. I took him to a trampoline park when he was 2.5, and he didn't want to go in. He was scared. We walked in, I did is take his shoes off, get his special socks. He stood out in the lobby for 30 minutes. He was watching everyone jump. He goes, no, Daddy, no. And finally I said, just walk in with me. After 30 minutes, he walked holding my hand. He walked in onto the trampoline and he sat down. Just sat down on the trampoline. Literally sat there. For another almost 30 minutes, he's sitting down. And finally, I got him to stand up holding my hands. And he stood up. We didn't jump. We just held each other's hands standing up. And then finally I started to move a little bit. And I saw him, but then he started to smile. And then I started to jump with him. And then I let go of my hands. And he started to jump and he started to smile. And then for the next 30 minutes, he jumped around and now he owns that place as a 3-year-old.
Right.
Everyone is scared of something that makes them uncomfortable. Everyone is scared of something they've never done before. But once you take that first step, you jump in. And sometimes you need help, someone to hold your hands doing it. But once you do it, it's unbelievable, the feeling, the gratitude, the excitement, the new things you have in your life. And I saw that with my 3-year-old, and I've seen it with myself.
Absolutely. And I think like as a parent, speaking to that, it's interesting because when you're a child, you have so much imagination, right? And sometimes you're not afraid to make that drawing or tell that big idea, right? And then us as adults, as parents, we want to tell them, hey, you can be whatever you want to be. But then we get caught up in ourselves sometimes to say, wait, I was just telling my child that, but I'm so afraid to chase this dream. How am I going to, I'm kind of a hypocrite, right?
Or we tell our child that and then we say, hey, no, don't jump on the couch. Color within the lines.
Right.
Don't dress like that because that's not how normal people dress.
Right. That's not going to pay you any money.
Yes. Hey, people are going to judge you because we want to protect our kids.
Right.
But sometimes protecting our kids, the best thing that we can do is let them experience it for themselves. If they want to dress very silly and wear pajama bottoms and a tutu and a tank top and go to school, we're worried, Chad, because of what people think about us.
Exactly.
Not about our kid. And I think that's what I'm starting to learn as a parent is let the kids experience things on their own. Let them go into the deep end. And then, if we can see our kids can do it, then why aren't we doing it?
Right. Yeah, and experience is a big one because I say all the time, you have to experience it. You can't teach experience.
Yep.
That's why it's called experience, right? I mean,
100%.
100%.
And again, we say, we're constant with the Savannah Bananas, and I think one of the reasons we've been fortunate to go from, selling 2 tickets to every game sold out, and I was just told by our ticket team, our wait list is over 8,000 now for tickets, which is just staggering.
That's crazy.
And we're very fortunate, but it's because we're only 5 years. If you look at experience, there's sports teams that are 100 years old. We're 5 years. But I'll tell you, we've got 50 years of experience. And here's why. We do constant experiments every single day. In our show, every single night on our show, we're doing 5 brand new promotions no one's ever seen before. We are testing constantly. We are testing new food, new drinks, how we serve people, new things in the concourse, new stages every single day. So our experience expands. So my question is, most people, what experiments are you doing today? What experiments are you doing tomorrow? What about next week? In your regular life, are you going to the same restaurants always? Are you doing the same date nights? Are you watching the same shows? And as soon as you experiment more, you gain more experience, which then gives you the opportunity to have a better, more fulfilled life and help make, produce better results, but also be able to give more to others because of that experience.
That's a good point because, without experience, your competition is always going to be knocking at your door if you have somebody that is your competition. But then I think your fans are kind of like your competition because they're going to get bored 100%. With the same thing every night, right? Or every week. So you got to shake that up and you keep that new.
There's a new hockey team coming to town. Like, are you worried about their competition? I go, no, we're competing against ourselves every day. We're competing for our fans. And what happens is you watch most sports teams, they get a brand new stadium, they come in, there's all excitement. And then what attendance goes like this. And the reason why is because they rest on their laurels. We've got a brand new stadium. I am petrified. I am scared of irrelevance and not doing things that create moments for fans that matter. And literally every day, that's why we talk. At the end of the night, I just told you before, we had a rain delay for a couple hours. We're getting out of the ballpark at 1 o'clock. We're talking as a team. What were the fans' first moments we created tonight? What were the new things we did for fans that we've never done before? And we ask those questions over and over again because we don't want to be irrelevant. And more importantly, we don't want to not make a difference. Sure. Why are we all here? To make a difference, to have purpose. So that's why we do what we do. And I think I just would challenge anyone. Jeff Bezos said it best. He said, our success is a direct function of how many experiments we do per year, per month, per week, per day. And when he left to be a CEO just recently, he said, keep inventing, keep wandering, keep trying new things. That's his message. And I think that's a great message to everyone, no matter business, personal, whatever. What are you doing new and trying to experiment? Because that's where you learn.
Yeah, and it's the only way you're going to grow, right? Gary Vaynerchuk talks about it a lot. If you're not innovating, if you're not trying to change things up, then you're just going to get stale, and people are going to stop coming, right?
Everyone, one of the best words in any type of business or life is what's new. And we had asked that was, what's new this year? If you don't have a good answer, good luck.
Right.
Because your fans will be finding something else that is new somewhere else.
That's right. Yep, absolutely. Now, recently on your podcast, I also heard you said you haven't really talked about it a lot, but the Martinsville Mustangs.
You would bring them up.
I think you have to look at the great things that you've accomplished and then some things that maybe there was kind of a sting to it or maybe you learned through that experience, right? Yeah. Can you kind of talk about that a little bit? Because I just want people to see, you're a real guy. People see you
even in a
tux,
tuxedo,
right? And they feel like, oh, he's Jesse Cole. Yeah. He's got all the confidence. Yeah. He's got all the experience. He's got all the backing. But that's not always true, right? Everybody comes from somewhere.
Yeah. So Martinsville Mustangs, so we were running the Grizzlies for many years, and we wanted to challenge ourselves. Could we take on something new in a new market, in a challenging market? When we went to Martinsville, the unemployment was 17% unemployment rate. That's 1 out of 5 people are unemployed. It's a challenging market. The ballpark was old. They had shower curtains as bathroom stalls. And troughs. It was a very, very challenging ballpark. But the city was struggling, and we said maybe we could try and see if could this work, what we do in Martinsville. And so we went down there without a GM. No GM, no staff, nothing. It was me and Emily, we're going to figure this out. We willed our way through figuring it out, but the lessons were unbelievable. And in the sense that we didn't have the right people in mind to take it over. The market was dramatically different. There was only 12 season ticket holders, 20 group tickets or whatever it was. There was nothing done. And we had to rebrand a market that was shown in a completely different way. And yes, did we quadruple the fans? Did we triple the revenue? More than triple the revenue in our first year. Was it substantially profitable? Yes. But here's the big lesson I learned. Every day we went over there, we did not look forward to it. We weren't passionate about it. We weren't excited to put on a show for them because it wasn't as appreciated. We had fans that complained on dollar nights that dollar tickets were too expensive.
Wow.
And so, we're doing our best we can, and it was a complaint factory, unfortunately. And maybe it was because we didn't spend enough time getting to know the market and really getting invested there. But again, I look back at that, and the lesson here is that was 3 years of our life. We had that year team for 3 years. We were profitable, we sold it, we walked out. That gave the opportunity to actually buy Savannah. But what happened was, I realized that everything is so short-term. As we went there, we had fans that criticized us, and people said, oh, this is a baseball town, you can't do the show. It's so short-term. That was 3 years. For a lot of people, that's an eternity. It was 3 years. I don't think about that anymore. But it was a thing that I was able to learn more. Could this work? How could it work? What would we need? It got us to the next step. What are those challenges that say, ooh, that doesn't look great at first, but what will you learn? What will you discover? And so I don't call it a failure. I say it was a perfect next step, and also gave us the gratitude and the appreciation for something like Savannah here, which is huge.
Yeah.
People, it's all perspective. Everything is perspective. So think about this perspective. Professional baseball was in this ballpark for 90 years. Babe Ruth played here, Hank Aaron, Mickey Mantle, Ted Williams, Jackie Robinson, they all played here. FDR gave a presidential address out here. All right, to you and me, wow.
Right.
But there were professional teams that played here for 90 years, and no one came to the games, and they said, if we don't build a new stadium and get out of this ballpark, we're gone. And the city said, we're not building a new stadium, we're gone. Their perspective was this ballpark was old, it's not worth it, it's run down, it's not a place to host a baseball team. Our perspective coming from Martinsville and Gastonia was, oh, perspective. Perspective is everything. And because of that perspective, every day we walk into this ballpark with gratitude and a feeling of, we better make sure that it's worth it for the fans, that we represent this place well. And so that all happened for a reason, and I wouldn't change anything.
Yeah, there was a quote from Henry Ford that you had mentioned about if you asked, I think, the people what they wanted, they would say faster horses.
Yes.
And I think that kind of goes along with that. Like, you don't need a new stadium, right?
You need a better experience.
You need a better experience.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I think, and again, I'll go on that quote more. I couldn't agree more with that quote. I think if you do tons of surveys, people will gravitate towards the middle, towards normal thinking. All right? You think Jeff Bezos ever did a survey and said, people were like, you know what? We need something in our kitchen table that's shaped like a Pringles can, but it's black and it's a speaker and it listens to everything you say.
Right.
No one in the world would have said that.
No.
No one would have said the iPhone or the iPod or the best inventions. No one would have ever said. No one would have said, I hope strangers pick me up and I do it all on my phone. I hope I can live in a stranger's bedroom.
Right.
That's where I really want to do instead of a nice Marriott hotel.
Right.
No one would say that. So I think the key is to think, what are your future fans wanting? And I think it's changing the language. We talk too much about customers. We talk too much about clients. Fans. I'll ask you this, Chad. Name something or anything that you're a fan of.
Anything that I'm a fan of.
Anything a fan of. It could be a business, could be a sports team, could be a person.
Amazon.
Why are you a fan?
Because I can get my stuff really quick.
Yeah.
Right? I can get something delivered within 2 days and I don't have to go to the store.
Yeah. And I watch you. Immediately you said Amazon. You kind of smile. You're like, Amazon.
Right.
It's like, oh, my friend Amazon. He's always there for me when I need him.
Right.
He's going to deliver. Oh, I didn't get my gift in time. Don't worry. I've got Amazon. My point is we think differently about fans. When you think of you're a fan of something, you get excited. I'm a big fan of Disney. You start talking about Disney, I light up. I get excited. Back in the day, I was a huge fan of Dave Matthews Band and hearing about them. Oh, all right, I get fired up. Oh, what songs they do? There was a different mindset. As a customer, you're not like, oh, you don't get fired up as a customer. So if we change the language, your customers don't always know the best answers. But if you think about them, what would make them a bigger fan of what I do? Amazon. What if I could get things delivered quicker, faster, better? All right. Apple. What if I could have all my songs, 1,000 songs, in my pocket? What if I could have everything that I have on a phone, on a computer, on my phone?
Right.
That makes you a fan of it. So it's a different mindset. You can't just ask a survey out to people. You got to say, what would make someone a fan? And that's what the questions we have. What are the things that we can do that can create more fans every day? Not can create more revenue, more money. That's the wrong conversation.
Right.
Create fans.
You have to start with the fans first,
Henry,
right?
Yeah, exactly. That's the name of our company. And Henry Ford did that. Henry Ford not only thought that about fans of a car, he doubled the wages of all his people, went to $5 wage in front of the house. He wanted to make fans of his people, and he had 30,000 people lining up for jobs.
Right.
He was thinking about fans all the way and became one of the greatest innovators of our time. Fans, fans, fans. Change the conversation, you change the innovation, and you change the purpose in your whole company.
That's right. Yeah, I think like speaking of like social media, today there's so many people that want to get on social media and build a company so quick and just sell it off and be done, right? But to me, that's not a passion. Like
passion, you don't want to sell.
You want to be right, exactly. You want to be long term. You want to do it till the day you die. In some cases, right? Like
even more so. I had a conversation with my wife the other day. I said, you know what? As we're talking about a family, and we're in the foster care. We also have a bio son. It's like I want the bananas to last hundreds of years. I went to the city, and we were renegotiating the lease, and I said I'd like to do a 100-year lease. They laughed at me. They laughed at me, and I go, I'm serious. I don't want 5-year lease. Let's talk 100. Let's think long term. And this is what you mentioned Gary Vaynerchuk before. You mentioned Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos, we're still on day one. We're still on day one. He says this every day. Yep. We're on day one. All right? They've done more in 25 years than any company in the world.
Oh, yeah.
And we see this. We're on day one. We're 6 years into the bananas. This is our 6th season. We haven't done anything. We're going to play all over the world. And we're going to make an impact on millions of fans. But we're just getting started. Yeah. Change your long-term thinking.
That's right. And that was actually a question that I wanted to ask was, do you see yourself as like a traveling team, kind of like a Harlem Globetrotters, right? Where they're going all over the globe, but combination with like the circus, where you're going and you're inspiring people and you're just bringing entertainment to people like all over the planet.
When we took the show to Mobile, Alabama, and again, we're playing a different game, so we've invented a new game, Banana Ball. Again, fall in love with a problem. There's a problem with baseball. It's too long, too slow, too boring. You come to a ballpark, you get nickel and dime. We eliminate all that. 2-hour fast-paced game. If fans catch a foul ball, it's an out. You can steal first. All these crazy rules. We brought it to Mobile, Alabama. We put it on sale. It sold out in 24 hours. We added another night, sold out again. 7,000 tickets. And what I remember, and I'll never forget it, the game finished the second night, a Bananas walk-off in our extra inning showdown, which is so much fun. And the fans are all standing. And I said, thank you, Mobile. You guys have been great. You've been wonderful. Thank you so much. And I said, one more thing. Learned that from Steve Jobs. Always have one more thing. I said, one more thing. We got a little surprise for you. 11, 10, 9, countdown. Boom, lights off, surprise fireworks show. And we had the surprise fireworks show go off to the Greatest Showman soundtrack, which we meshed in together for a 6-minute, this is the greatest show. Our teammates, our staff was coming through the concourse, and they said they saw mothers with their kids, and there were tears coming down their face. Again, after COVID and everything else, they brought their family together, and they had a moment that they want to forget. I remember as I watched, all the players were hugging each other. I told the guys, it's been the most fun you've ever had playing baseball. I'm running through the concourse after the fireworks show ends. I'm going, woo, woo. I'm like, I just won the World Series. And I get at the end, and the pep band's out there playing. The pep band starts playing music. The fans start coming out, and no one leaves. This is an hour and a half after the game. This is Mobile, Alabama, hundreds of miles from where the Bananas are. And earlier that night, the fans started lining up at 3 o'clock. The line was almost a half mile to get in the ballpark. Fans aren't leaving, and I'm watching. The band plays through a whole set list. They just don't stop. The drummer's doing solos to give the horns time to rest. And all of a sudden, I took my camera out at the last moment because I saw the band put their instruments down and started singing Stand By Me. And I watched players of both teams. I watched our mascot, our Banana Nanas senior citizen dance team, our male cheerleading team, our dancing coaches, fans put their arms around each other, and everybody is singing Stand By Me with hundreds of people at 10:30 at night in Mobile, Alabama. I got emotional. I said, this is it. This is it. So when you ask about where are we going in the future, that all over the world.
Right.
Because
that's really gotten to the emotions, right? The fans, like you just deep in the heart, right? That's what keeps a fan.
You think about passion, and what is passion? Passion is when you are so lost in a moment, you're not thinking about anything else.
Exactly.
And, I think there's so many people in their jobs, they're watching the clock. Well, what are you doing where the time flies by?
Right.
I think when time flies by, it's like, wow, this is a whole day? That's passion.
Right.
And so for us, that moment, I'm sitting there, I didn't want it to end. I was singing, I was dancing, I was watching our umpire sign autographs because we have a dancing umpire. I'm like, this doesn't happen in anywhere else. And I'm watching kids' reactions and parents and them capturing it. And you can look at a fan and see how they feel. I go, I get to do this for a living? I actually get paid for this?
Right.
I have a moral obligation as a leader of this team to bring this to more people all over the world. And every day that I'm not doing that, I am not living up to what I should be doing. And that's what fires me up. That pushes me to put on a 3-hour rain delay show as it's pouring rain and we're not stopping. We're throwing bananas, we're dancing, we're singing, because it's someone's first game every single time. And I'll tell you this, last night we had 26 states represented at this Bananas game. And people coming from all of California, Chicago, they're coming their first time. They deserve that. And so you better believe when we take it to other cities, they deserve it, they deserve it, they deserve it, and we're going to keep going.
And like you said, first time they're here, right? And some of them, a lot of them probably children. And we know their attention is very short, right?
Better make it fun.
You gotta, that might be the first time at a baseball game.
100%.
And so their perception of a baseball game, like if you were to go to a pro game and it's so long, they're like, I don't like baseball.
Yeah, and they're gone forever.
Right.
And that's why they may not be a baseball fan, but they're a Bananas fan. It's a different experience.
That's right.
And so one of the best lessons I've learned, and I teach our team this all the time, when you give fun, you have fun. You know, everyone says, oh, have fun. Well, it's not that easy to say have fun. So give fun. Right. So we teach our players, we teach our staff, we teach everyone to dance more, to sing more, to do celebrations. We actually have meetings with our team on scoring celebrations. They did a bowl and a toro the other day where they just rushed each other. They played a DJ. They're doing bowling after runs. They are giving fun. And what I mean by that is they're giving fun to all the fans watching, and then they're having fun. Right. How can you give fun to someone else? When someone walks in that door and you greet them, how do you greet them? Is it a fun way?
Yep.
And so that's give fun to have fun. And so that's become kind of one of the things we talk about a lot here.
And it has to, right? You can't transfer an emotion to somebody that you don't already have. If you're not happy, you can't transfer happiness to somebody else.
And you can't create a fan if you're not a fan yourself.
That's right.
I mean, our team, I say this, if our team doesn't want to wear the merchandise out in town, good luck anyone else going to wear it. You know, I want our people to, like, as soon as our new gear comes out, and which we do, all of them, I don't even want it. They get it for gear for their whole family. I watch our staff walk out with the bags of shirts. They're like, oh, my family's got to have this. I'm like, yes, that's the way it should be. And I think whether you work for a heating and cooling company, whether you work as a realtor company, whatever you work for, are you proud to wear the logo of the company you work for? If you're not, you haven't found your passion yet.
That's right. Very good point. Yep. Now, do you have any techniques that you or the team use when you're trying to come up with new ideas? Like, so if somebody's watching and say they're trying to find a new idea on social media or just something new to create fans or create a new experience.
Yeah, you got to work your idea muscle. So it's so hard for people to think, oh, I'm just not creative. When anyone says they're not creative, it drives me nuts. We're all creative. Go back to you as a kid.
That's right.
Go back to you as a kid. You know, we get creative punched out of us from schooling system, from parents telling us we can't do this. We get punched out of us, and then we teach ourselves we're not creative. It's crap, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is.
And so how do you do that? You got to reconnect with that creativity. How do you do that? You got to work your idea muscle. You got to work your creative muscle. How do you do that? It's very simple. If you want to stay in good shape, you work out regularly. If you want to be healthy, you eat healthy. All right? It's very simple. You don't just do it once in a while, you do it regularly. So my challenge for most people that say I'm not creative, it's like, well, how often you come up with ideas? No, not much. You know, it's not just going there. You have to get the gym membership. You have to put the running clothes out early. You have to get ready to go do it. So for instance, I changed my life a few years ago when I read Hal Elrod's Miracle Morning, and I changed my mornings. I used to wake up every day with other people's priorities. I'd go social media, I'd look at the news, I'd look at all the crap, whatever. And I changed it. I read his book, it is inspired. And now I wake up, I write a thank you letter every morning. I write in my journal. I write 10 ideas, which I'll get to in a second. I read, and I go for a run and listen to a podcast. By 7 o'clock, I've won the day.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter whatever else happens. And I was forced to do that because I forced into that. It was my discipline. So with the ideas, that was a big thing. Our business is not based necessarily on the food. It's not based necessarily on the games. It's based on the ideas that we come up with for our fans. Ideas are everything. And so what I realized that is the most important that we have. How do we stay relevant? How do we stay fun? How do we stay unique? How do we invent on behalf of our fans? We have to come up with ideas, not on a weekly, monthly, on a daily basis. So anytime we do an experiment with our team, I've done the experiment on myself first. So for instance, 3 years ago, I started writing 10 ideas every single morning. How do you do that? How do you do it? Well, it's tough at first. Like anything, it's tough at first. I watched Maverick, my son, go swimming in his first swimming lesson. It was tough at first. Ideas are tough. But here are the things I've learned. By committing myself every morning to do it, it got easier. Every day it got easier. I learned that I can't just go in with a random slate of ideas. I have to go in with a theme. And what I did is I tested this on myself. And then I tested it on our team. We brought in a new entertainment lead to run the show. And I said, well, he's starting here. He's going to learn how to come up with ideas. So every morning we do 10 ideas together. He comes up with the theme the night before, I come up with the theme, I send it to him the night before, he sends it to me, and then that morning we do 10 ideas, and then we meet and we discuss it. We have an idea accountability partner. And you know what's happened because of that? In 3 weeks, we've come up with more than 50 usable, that means good,
right.
promotions for the games. Promotions, because we had senior citizen promotions, promotions with bananas, ballet promotions, because he's a ballerina. We've come up with giveaway promotions, special above and beyond fans first moments we can do for kids. We've come up with all these different themes, and we stick to that theme. So my question is for you or anybody, it's like, all right, can you do 3 days a week and say, all right, I'm going to do a theme on anything in your life. Depends on, I don't know what your job is or what people are doing, but anything is like, just come up with some ideas. Start checking ideas, backyard ideas for my house, kitchen ideas.
Yep.
Bedroom ideas, activities for my son, my daughter, ideas.
That's right.
And it can be personal, it can be professional, but start working that idea muscle. What happens is the idea muscle starts working then regularly. You better believe now when I'm driving, I will come up with more ideas driving than most people. Why? Because I worked my idea muscle in the morning.
Yes.
You better believe that it's not just in the shower I get an idea, I get ideas all day long. You better believe I have a notebook right next to my bed because ideas are coming. And everyone's like, oh man, you're always coming with ideas. I just started working my idea muscle.
That's right. Yep.
It's already working. So the people that are in the best shape, the healthiest, their body's already working all day when other people's aren't. And so that's what I do personally. And now as a team, we have idea partners, but we also do idea paloozas. We get together as a whole team. We each bring 3 to 5 ideas on a certain theme. And by the end of the day, we have 50 ideas and 10, 20 of them are usable.
Yep.
So ideas. I think most companies, they talk, oh, I have an idea. We're going to do a brainstorming session. Well, what happens then? Can't just be once, we're going to have our annual check-ins.
Right.
Are you kidding me?
Yep.
It's too little, too late. Sorry, I get fired up about ideas.
No, that's great because you mentioned like you have 50 usable ideas.
Yes.
Right? You said you do 5 a game.
Yeah.
So now we're looking at 10
brand new
games.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we're good.
That's a good amount of games.
Yes,
right?
not to mention the 250 of the hits we've done in the past.
Right.
We don't know what to fit in the schedule anymore, but that's good. Having too many ideas is not too bad.
No, it's not.
Yes.
All right, so you mentioned reading and
Yeah.
educating yourself.
Yeah.
Are there maybe like 1 or 2 books that you would recommend for anybody just to help them find their passion, to help them, think of new ideas? No matter what their passion is, like today in the society with the internet and social media, I think any passion that you have, you can take to the internet.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, books is always the hardest question for me. I mean, I read anywhere between 50 and 100 books a year. I do book reports on the books that really made an impact so I can remember and go back in and log them. We pay our team to read whenever they read. We do a book club. We're very big into that. That's growing and hungry is 2 of our core beliefs. There are go-to books. We talk about finding the passion. One book stands out to me by John Gordon, The Carpenter, and the whole theme of love, serve, and care. That's a very good fable. Very good read. I did a 7-page report on that before I was even doing book reports because it hit home so much. So that was one I read many years ago. But yeah, I get deep on themes. So I think anyone I tell anyone that's like, oh, I don't love to read. Well, the challenge is probably you started one book and you didn't enjoy it. And you either try to force yourself to get through it or you're like, I don't write. My point, if you ever start a book and you don't like it, put it down and stop reading it.
Right.
Go to books that you are excited to continue reading. Influenced by Bill Veck, I'm in between 3 to 4 books at a time, which is very ADD, and my wife thinks I'm crazy. But I'm into all of them for different reasons. So I'll go, I gotta go to this. But a lot of times on a theme, I'm reading solely about innovation right now. So I'm reading Big Little Breakthroughs by Josh Linkner, The Innovation Secrets of Steve Jobs. That's my theme. That's what my mind is going deep on. Most people just get so scattered. I go deep on a theme for a little bit, on what I want to learn, and then so I get it engraved into my mind.
Okay, great. And I just want to say, Find Your Yellow Tux, I read it. It's great because, and it was very easy to read because it's a lot of relatable things, stories about you, and it's just, and humor. Right? I like the humor in it. So that makes it fun, right? Like you said, you might go into a book and it's just, you got to force yourself to read it. It's not a force at all.
Appreciate it. That was kind of, I shared how I was able to find my yellow tux, the thing that makes me stand out, my passion, my purpose, and the journey of that. And it's been amazing how much it's been shared, and I thank you for the kind words.
You're welcome. Now, you kind of talked about journaling, and I know you kind of hit on it a little bit when you're, finding new techniques and stuff, but what's the importance of journaling? Because I journal myself, and I've really realized how much stuff has changed because you can go back a year from now and read what you and you forgot all about it, but you're like, oh wow, I was doing that. Like what's the importance to you
Clarity.
for journaling? Clarity?
Clarity. You know, the great book, Write It Down, Make It Happen. And it's proven by writing things down is how you make things happen. You manifest them, you get them started. And so for me, the writing has been huge. And also, you know, if you don't want to write about things, you probably don't have passion. I'm fired up. I'm trying to figure out how do we take the show all over the world. So you better believe 5 out of 6 writings, I'm running, all right, well, what if we do this? What if we do this? And I'm getting more excited about it. And that gets me fired up for the day. See, I think your writing can actually provide clarity, but also get you fired up and to be able to communicate. The greatest leaders, the greatest parents, the greatest teachers are great communicators. How to become a great communicator? You have to start communicating more. And it's not just verbally, it's also written. The more I write, the more I can put my thoughts together. And when you write, it actually gets into your mind more. So when you share it, it comes out better. And so you know, our president writes a memo every week, and his writing has come so far over the last 3 years. He's become a great communicator. Can't be a great leader or a great parent without being a great communicator. And so I think the writing is key.
Very good point. Caring, different, enthusiastic, fun, growing, and hungry. That's the fans' first way. Are those in any particular order? And is there anyone that's more important than the other?
No, it's so we developed that. So basically, the simplicity of our business is it's fans first entertainment is the name of our business. Fans first, entertain always is our mission. That's what we do. Every question, every decision we make, we ask ourselves, is it fans first? Now, when we were trying to bring people onto our team, we asked, well, what type of people are we looking for? Who is a fans first person? And in keeping it simple, my wife and I said, well, let's just follow the alphabet. You know, always be caring, different, enthusiastic, fun, growing, hungry. The ABGHs, whatever.
Right.
All right. It follows the alphabet. And so for us, you know, I guess you could say it starts, you have to be a caring person to be able to put your heart into doing the things that we do. And, you know, I've heard so many stories of what people have done for fans that have lost loved ones, and I share some in the book. I mean, it's unbelievable. If you're not caring, you won't fit in. And everyone that we get hired, they have to do a fans first essay on these. We also do a video cover letter and a future resume because we want to know what you want to do in the future. Because if you don't say you're not going to grow in the future, you're not growing and hungry. So that's another test in there. So it all fits into this. But they all fit in. I mean, fun's a big part of what we do. On the website, we make baseball fun. Everything's about fun. Enthusiastic, you got to have enthusiasm. If you don't think differently, you're not going to fit. And growing and hungry. If you're not ready to grow and hungry, you are part of the wrong system because we are growing fast. And not just business-wise, we're growing as people. We're growing as families. We have people that are now having their first kids and getting married, and it's a growing tribe that we have. And so we want to all be on that quest together. And if you're content with resting on the way it's been, the laurels, you won't fit here if you're not hungry. And so that's where it all comes together. So we have people fill out and write an essay towards that, and we talk about those. And when we recognize people, we say, all right, you were so different by doing this. You came up with that idea. You showed so much enthusiasm when you did this. Wow, you were growing when you went from this to this. And that's how we celebrate, because you got to come back to who you are and what you stand for over and over and over again if you really want to build a culture that does that. That's
right. So speaking of the future, you kind of talked about it a little bit, but is there anything that you're in works right now that you can share? Because I know it's a long-term game, right? I mean, especially when you're doing your passion. It's not to build it in 5 years and get rid of it. You want to continue. Is there anything that you can kind of talk to right now that you're working on for fans?
Sure. Well, it's very easy. And all innovation starts for what are the problems, what are the challenges? So, if you look at any invention, we talked about Amazon or Apple earlier, it all came from problems. It came from challenges. Hey, the phone couldn't do this. All right, you couldn't do this on your computer. You couldn't do this with your music MP3 player back then.
Right.
It all came from problems. So if you look at all the problems revolving around a fan experience, revolving around a baseball game, you can see where we're going. And if you want to really put out there, we do a vision every 5 years. We came out with one for 2025. It says where we're going. And so what are all the problems? What are all the challenges? Well, again, the game is still too long. So we developed a new game, faster. All right. The experiences, you still get nickel and dimed. Even though our ballpark's all inclusive, how can we provide even more experiences? The future of sport, in my opinion, is not a spectator sport. People in general are not going to sit for 2-3 hours. So how do you create an experience where you move around? How could we create this as Banana Land? And so you think about, obviously inspired by Disney. If this is a Banana Land, you look at a ballpark not as a ballpark, but you look at it as a theme park full of experiences. Oh, and they just happen to be baseball. You can kind of think of how we're solving some problems there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so when you combine what we're doing, the future is taking the show all over the world and building Banana Land. And so the biggest difference between WWE, Globetrotters, is that they travel around, but they don't have a home base where people can see it. We have our home base. And whereas Disney, it's Disneyland, and then they have Feld Entertainment who puts on Disney on Ice. We are spreading the word like crazy, like, a rock band all over the world. And then I got to see the original in Bananaland in Savannah, Georgia. If we build those in the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years, I think we'll make the impact that we want to.
That's awesome. Is there anybody that you watch or follow on social media that inspires you that you would recommend to other people besides yourself?
No, every day. I mean, if you want to know who inspires me, look at every one of my guests of Business Done Differently. And I think that's been a big passion of mine. Is I realized 3-4 years ago, it's that, I was the oldest on my team. We had 22-year-olds, 23-year-olds, 24-year-olds. My wife was, just in her early 30s, me in my mid to late 30s. And I realized that I need to learn more and grow more. So I started reaching out to people that inspired me. And I mean, the people that I've interviewed on my show, from Ken Blanchard to John Gordon to, you name it, David Novak, CEO of Yum Brands, to, just a list of people that I have so much respect for. It didn't start with me reaching out and saying, can you be on my podcast?
Right.
It started with me sending a thank you and not asking for anything. And would I have loved to connect with them? Yeah. I sent a thank you, and a lot of them, they reached out to me and kind of, wow, your story's inspiring, love to talk, I love to connect. And some, like Mike Michalowicz, invited me to speak at his ProfitCon event, and then hooked me up at another big event, then helped get MSNBC down here, and some of these guys, because when you share gratitude, you share real appreciation, you share not just, hey, thank you for a great book, but how the book impacted you and what you did because of it. When people write back in my book and say, here's how we changed our business, here's how we changed things with me, my wife, my family, I will spend as much time with you as possible because you really did something. It's like it's a proud teacher.
Right.
It's not the student that just sitting in the back not doing it. The student's like taking it, and it's like you can really help that person. So I reached out to all these people, send thank you cards, send thank you videos, just with a selfie video, and built some of the best relationships. And I never would imagine 3-4 years ago, the people that I have on my phone right now, I would never imagine that Simon Sinek would call me. I never imagined Simon Sinek would call me. I'm like, what is happening? And the other phone calls I'm getting, I'm like, wow, I can't believe I'm talking to this.
Is this really you?
Yeah. And it's, we all want the same thing. We all want to feel like we're making a difference, like we have purpose in this life, like we're doing something that matters.
Right.
And so what I always tell our team is nothing matters more than making people feel like they matter. And if every day you can make someone feel like they matter, it's worth it. And so that's why every day I start with my thank you letter. And now the relationships, the people that I've got to know around here, it's better than any, there's nothing better.
Because that's really what life is about, is helping one another, right?
It's human connection.
That's right.
What we lost during COVID was human connection. And that's why now, as we're coming out of it, people are hungrier more than ever to get around people.
That's true.
And they're willing to say, you know what, I just need to be around people. And I get it. People need this. This is a way to connect. And I'm not taking away from computers, and it's obviously much better than it was 10, 20 years ago.
Right.
But we will always want that. People want to be seen and heard. They want to feel like they are a part of something. They want to feel like they belong. And you can only get that when you're together like this. And that's why when people say, it's going to be digital, it's going to be VR. Yes, I'm not saying that's not going to happen. But when we have 4,000 people stand up here and dance Hey Baby, and you have 8-year-olds and 80-year-olds dancing together, and everyone's doing the same dance with the players and our cast and the fans, there's nowhere else I'd rather be in the world. And I bet you a lot of people that were here would say the same.
That's awesome. Couple more questions. If you had to describe yourself as a piece of art,
oh jeez,
how would you describe yourself?
It's my wife would say it's definitely one of the crazy Picasso works with just things all over. What is it, Art Deco or whatever?
Right, yeah.
Whatever. It's and I see the ones where you got like what's the one with like the clock that's kind of like fading down and everything. My mind is all over the place. I have so many things that excite me, that fire me up. And as I've done behavioral studies, I thrive off chaos. I'm the guy who jumps out of a plane and builds the wings on the way down. But for some reason, I'm like a cat. I land on my feet. And so I wish it could be a simplistic picture of me, my son, our foster daughter, and my wife, and our family. But it's not. I just get so excited about so much. So I don't know if I don't think it'd be art that would sell that well. Let's put it that way.
But it's great because you jump out of the plane and you have no other option but to build wings, right? Yeah. You would never know if you could fly if you didn't jump in the first place.
There you go.
So my daughter wanted me to ask you this question.
Bring it.
So, do you eat bananas for breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
Good. Fun fact, I never ate bananas until we became the Bananas.
Really?
And so Dad, never a banana guy, but now I have one every morning.
Wow.
And every morning I have a banana. It's the first thing I eat in the morning.
That's great. All right, any final thoughts or advice that you could give anyone watching? Just any advice? What's like the number one thing that you would tell somebody?
That's tough for me because obviously we've talked about having the courage to stand out and be able to do things a little differently and not worry about what people judge in you. And, we've talked about giving fun and the importance of giving fun to have fun. And we've talked about, we've got about the making a difference and what that matters. So, in the back of our Fans First playbook, it says, be patient in what you want for yourself, but be impatient in how much you give to others. And that's the message that we share with our team. And if you're looking to give more without asking for anything in return, everything else will take care of itself. And so here at this ballpark, we're trying to give them as much fun as possible. In my book, in the speaking, I try to give more than I ask for in return. And it makes life pretty fun when you do that.
It's great.
Yeah.
Jesse.
It's a pleasure, my man.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Remember to like, share, subscribe the video. I have a signed book from Jesse that I'm going to give away to a lucky winner. Subscribe, comment, and I'm just going to randomly pick somebody to win that book. You've heard Jesse's passion. Now my question to you is, what's your passion?